So rough riders roll. Stop, stop, shut them down, open up shop. Oh, no, that's how rough riders roll. Snitches wanna try, snitches wanna lie, the snitches wonder why, snitches wanna die. All I know is pain, all I feel is rain. I cannot maintain the badness of my brain. I resort to violence, my killers moving silence, like you don't know what I silence. So your killers are wild. My dog is with it. You want it? Come and get it. Took it, then we split it. Damn right we did it. What the F you gon' do when we run up on you? Messing with the wrong crew. Don't know what we gon' do. I'ma have to show how easily we blow. When we find out there's some more that's running with Joe, nothing we can't handle. Break it up and dismantle, light it up like a candle. Just cause I can't stand you, put my foot tapes like you busting grapes. Think you holding weight, and you haven't met the age. Stop, shut them down, open up shop. Oh, that's how rough riders go. Stop, shut them down, open up shop. Oh, no, that's how rough riders go. Yo, it's y'all people crazy. I bust you and be crazy. Stop acting like a baby. Mind your business, lady. Nosy people get it too. When you see me spit at you, you know I'm trying to get rid of you. Yeah, I know it's pitiful. That's how killers get down. Watch my killers spit round. Think you suckers get round. Just for talking crap. Oh, you think it's funny? Then you don't know me, money. It's about to get ugly. Whatever, dog, I'm hungry. I guess you know what that means. Come up off that green. Rob to get over me. Don't make it a murder scene. Give a dog a bone. Leave a dog alone. Let a dog roam and he'll find his way home. Home of the brave. My home is a cave. And yo, I'm a slave to my home, it's a grave. I'm a full cake. It's all about the paper. Chickens took the papers and now they want to rape. Stop. Shut them down, open up shop. Oh, that's how rough riders roll. Stop. Stop. Shut them down, open up shop. Oh, no. That's how rough riders roll. Man, look what you done started. Written, you got it. Add it to the shot. Now you're gonna depart. Get at me, dog, and a rich. But this one here I pick. You pick it up when I kick. Gonna be some slicks. What would that look for when I walked in the door? Oh, you thought you was raw? Oh, not anymore. Cause now you on the floor. Wishing you never saw me walk through that door with that 4-4. Now it's time for that. 2 more to the head. Got the floor red. Yeah, that night is dead. Another unsolved mystery. Going down in history. Niggas they never did to me. Niggas they can't get to me. Got to make a move. Got a point to prove. Gotta make them prove. Got them all like, ooh. So to the next time you hear this dog round, try to keep your mind or get in crime. Stop. Stop. Shut them down, open up shop. Talk is cheap, motherfucker. Who's the black private dick? That's a sack machine on all the cheeks. You're damn right.
Welcome to another live Radical Republican show. I'm your host, the J Black Marvel Jerome Bell, here bringing it to you live, unfiltered, uncensored, unedited, unapologetic, always unscripted truth. Here in the Lion's Den on Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Sunday, bringing it to you. Hope y'all had a great week. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody that's tuning in, come on in. Let's get it in. We got a 3-part series that's going to start tonight. 3-part series is going to start tonight. And some people may think it's important. Some people may not. And if you don't, just keep on moving. But I actually think it's important because it ties into what I believe we are facing today and why we as a society cannot trust the Democrat Socialist of America Party. Yeah, you guys heard it right. We have a communist party here in the United States. And that communist party continue and have always used black people for their agenda, and we're going to expose it. Over the next 3 weeks, we're going to expose it all. And we're going to get it in. We're going to start it up tonight, y'all. And I say thank you for tuning in again. I'm going to get my sponsors out of the way because it's going to go long. I'm going to try to keep it like 2 hours, really. 2 hours each week. You know, we're going to introduce some players to you. You know, because you have to know the players, you have to know the organizations, but we're going to hit you. We're going to hit you hard. Like I said, raw. It's going to be raw, unfiltered, exposing the commie threat from CPUSA Soviet roots right here to today's government. Just like Joe McCarthy said, people say Joe McCarthy was a racist, but Joe McCarthy was right about the communists he feared, and that's why they came with the HUAC. And I ran on bringing the HUAC back, actually. And I think we need it because I read, what was it, about a month or two ago, I read the 45 goals of communism here in the United States, and we had, hit like 30 of them? We hit like 30 of them, you know, and there's another thing. Are we occupied by communists? Are we occupied by Israel, the Mossad, the Likud party? Like I said a couple of weeks ago, I think the Likud party is like one of the strongest parties here in the United States. We have most of Congress over in Israel. They're supposed to be in their districts over their break, but they're over in Israel. Over an AIPAC sponsored trip. I wonder what they're doing over there. Probably getting honeypotted, getting, compromised. Because this is what happens. You take those freshmen over there. They don't know what's going on, and they get compromised. Matt Gaetz actually put up a post, said last time he went over there and he went back to his room early, and there was a Mossad dude in his room, man. What was he planning? What was he looking for, right? But this is what happens, though. This is what happens when you go to our greatest ally, our greatest friend in the Middle East. They trap these congressmen and congresswomen over there, right? But we're going to deep dive into every player, in this. And the name of this is communism and Negroes, the communists and Negroes. Okay, you're going to see there's a whole lot more of the Negroes playing a part in this, but it definitely is something I think we need to talk about. Something I've been wanting to cover for a long time because I've said that the Communist Party had hijacked the civil rights movement, had hijacked, a lot of, let's say, the black leaders of the 60s. Now we're going to talk about more than that. We're going to dive, like I said, into every player. Leon Trotsky, from Russia got banned, and from over in Russia, we're gonna talk about Don West, the headmaster of the Highland School that MLK went to, and Rosa Parks, and where these people went to go get trained at. And we're going to talk about Malcolm X. Malcolm X wasn't a communist, but Malcolm X got caught up in COINTELPRO, which was supposedly to combat communism in the United States. This is what they said COINTELPRO was, but but I knew DNI, right? She says that Department of Naval Intelligence. She says that COINTELPRO is still going on. I'm going to talk about the ILD, and I'm going to give you the names of these codes, of these acronyms. We'll talk about the Highlander School, the Black Panther Party, like I opened the show, the Democrat Socialist Party of America. And we're going to talk about how the women drove the civil rights, but did they get smeared as reds? When we're talking about reds, we're talking about commies, right? We're talking about reds. We're talking about communists. Or were they actual communists? I think they were actual communists because they joined the Communist Party. Why else would you be, right? Okay. Or like Dr. Martin Luther King said before he was murdered, he feared that he had led his people into a burning house. Did he wake up? Was Dr. Martin Luther King used as well by the Communist Party? And we're going to talk about how they use black people, the plight of black people, and coming up in the 20s and 30s, 40s, 50s. We'll talk about all that. But we're going to connect the CPUSA's exploitation to all the way up to Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, AOC, the DSA's rise. We're going to talk about the DSA. Remember, that's the Democrat Socialist Party of America. Okay, and all of this is backed by 2025 FBI files. Okay, so like I said, this is your fight. And so let's get it. But let's hit this real quick. Supermassive Black Coffee is what we're going to talk about first. Is sponsor. So are you tired of the same old corporate coffee? Diluted and devoid of character. It's time to break free from the chains of mediocrity with Supermassive Black Coffee. Crafted from 100% organic beans, this coffee is fire roasted in a Victorian era roaster, a relic from an age which true craftsmanship thrived. The unique process allows the flames to caress each bean, unlocking bold, rich flavors with dark chocolate undertones and a smooth, smoky finish. In a time of soaring coffee prices and supply chain disruptions, Supermassive Black Coffee stands as a beacon of quality and resilience. While others compromise, the brand remains steadfast, delivering a brew that defies convention and invites coffee lovers to explore the depths and flavor and mystique. Join the rebellion against the mundane. Visit supermassiveblackcoffee.com and use code MAMBA, MAMBA, MAMBA for 20% off your order. Got the code back. It was down for a little bit because they were changing some things over. So you can use MAMBA, MAMBA for 20% off your order. Embrace the conspiracy and sip the mystery. And we'll do another sponsor later in the show. But I want to say hi before we get started. I'm going to give shout outs to everybody out there, man. We got TBB out there. Talk about my Getter crew. Talk about my Getter crew. We got TBB out there. What's up, buddy? Always in here. Missed you last week, though. But that's all cool, though. We got Doobly's in the house. 007 is in the house. We appreciate you for tuning in. We got, all right. There's some more folks. We got 141. A little slow today, but that's all right. It's going to pick up. They always do. Jackie, we see you over there in Rumble Land. Jackie, we see you. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. And as always, we got Carolyn over here and on YouTube land. We got Catelia. Hey there. Nice to see you back. Lily Bees is over on YouTube. Louis Harper, new guy. Hey, Louis. Hey, join the party, man. And so I'll try to get to comments. I will try to get to questions, comments, and everything else. But I'm going to start the show with this. Before I get into who the players are and everything, I'm going to actually start the show with this.
The so-called downtrodden and oppressed, among the supposedly starving and pauperized Negroes, the enemy was referred to as Whitey, Mr. Charlie, the man, and the Ophe. Phase 1 was well on its way. Now it was time to implement Phase 2, create the appearance of popular support, beguile the people of the United States and the world into believing the pious fraud that the civil rights uprising, led by a handful of agitators, was a popular movement of the whole Negro race in the United States. At the National Convention of the American Communist Party, held in New York City in June of 1940, James Ford, the Communist Party candidate for the vice presidency of the United States, said,
"For the Negro in the South, my people, the Negro people of America, have in the Communist Party their best defender, the unfailing champion of their cause. I accept its nomination for Vice President of the United States."
By this time, the communist champions of the Negro race had hidden the revolutionary ideas and slogans for a Soviet Negro Republic behind the humanitarian banners of jobs, security, civil rights, and peace. These humanistic issues were to provide the friction necessary to divide the American people and lay the groundwork for revolution.
I am Leonard Patterson. When I was a young man, only 23 years old, I joined the Communist Party. I was a member of the National Executive Committee of the American Young Communist League. In 1930, I was the official communist candidate for election to New York State Assembly. I knew Gus Hall and other top-ranking American communists very well because I trained with them at the Lenin University in Moscow. I joined the party because I honestly thought the communists were trying to help American Negroes. I broke away from the party when it became clear to me what the communists were really up to was to use the Negro people in this country as cannon fodder in a violent and bloody revolution aimed at the establishment of the American Soviet dictatorship. It was that simple, and it is still that simple today. Make no mistake about it. What is happening in the United States right now under the banner of civil rights is exactly what has happened in China, in Cuba, in Algeria, and many other places around the world.
I'm Julia Brown. For 9 years, I was a member of the Communist Party, serving as an undercover agent for the FBI. During that time, I learned that the communist conspiracy had been planning and working for years to bring violent revolution to America. It was to be a communist revolution, but the great majority of the American people would not be allowed to realize that until it had already happened. If all goes according to the communist blueprint, Americans will believe that the chaos and violence has something to do with civil rights. Our enemies were quick to find our weakest point for their attack. They knew that racial differences could provide them with an excellent wedge to divide our people. Their strategy simply has been to keep hammering on that wedge, to drive it deeper into our social structure, to open all wounds that have long since healed, and deliberately to create new ones wherever they can.
He acted like a good nigga for the white folks. But I tell you, I don't want to even be around no more good niggas. I'm with them good Negroes. That's what they call Rodriguez, a good Negro. I want to be with the bad niggas, because I know what's happening with the bad niggas. That's where I want to be. I want to be with the niggas. I want to be with the bad niggas who don't want to ride on the back of the bus no more. And this is what Elder Davis will call you. And the bad niggas is not going to work for $18 or $20. No, I want to be for the bad niggas who going to register and vote. I want to be for the bad niggas going to swim on any God's beach where water is flowing. I want to be with this type.
Now, this doesn't mean that there isn't a legitimate need for the advancement of civil rights for many of our Negro citizens. Of course, there is a need there. Otherwise, communist agitators posing as civil rights leaders could never hope to enlist massive support for their schemes. The aspirations of Negroes for full equality were not created by communists, but they are used by communists in such a way that idealistic Americans of all races can be tricked into implementing the communist blueprint for revolution. Having been on the inside of the Communist Party, it's easy for me to recognize this revolutionary agitation in disguise. But the average American finds it's hard to believe that something as worthy and noble sounding as a civil rights movement could possibly be a communist maneuver.
I'd like to say, in a real sense, not fellow freedom fighters, but fellow slaves. For we all are slaves, not only in this society, not only in this community, but all over this nation and all over the world. What you're doing here is very significant and it's very important.
Well, I think it is frightening, and it should be frightened to the entire American people that he has demanded $10 billion. And if he doesn't get it, then there may be riots this summer. Martin Luther King is nothing but a blackmailer, and he should be arrested for blackmailing because he certainly has blackmailed the United States government.
There's one thing that bothers me, and that, as a Negro yourself, why do you talk so bitterly against Martin Luther King and a lot of these other people of your race?
Well, let me tell you something. I don't put my race before I do my country. Being a Negro woman doesn't matter to me who is a Negro or who is a white person. If they are enemies of our country, then they are certainly my enemies too. When I was a member of the Communist Party, the communists ordered me to incite other of my people to riot.
So I'm gonna stop right there for now. Julia Brown, that was the lady you saw, Julia Brown and William Patterson. They were part of the Communist Party, and she actually was undercover for the FBI. I'm gonna show you something here. In 1961, Ebony magazine, right? You all heard of Ebony magazine, I would hope. And they actually had a on the cover, right? This is 1961, Ebony magazine. I'm gonna bring this up. And right here in the top is I was a spy for the FBI. That's Miss Julia Brown. That's Miss Julia Brown. This is publication. I went back and actually found this. They actually have archives of this stuff, man. It's actually unbelievable. And so, you have all this. The Ebony magazine. You had Kenny on the front. Like I say, March 1961, and you have this little thing. I was a spy for the FBI, and you don't find this story until page 94. Way back here on page 94. Let me see if I can find it. But let me go back. It's 94. I was a spy for the FBI. Okay, so and this is the article in there. Housewife bears communist plot to infiltrate civil rights and Negro churches. And one of the big things is they infiltrated over 500 churches. And people always talk about. I'm gonna pull this off for a minute, but people always talking about the black church and and things like that, right? And the Democrat Party. Out of what you heard already tonight, it still sounds like the Democrat Party of today, right? I mean, you have AOC, you have Cori Bush, who was a congresswoman, you have the chick now. Shoot, I try to actually forget her name, but do some stuff on her. I mean, but you find all these, and a lot of these are Congress women, right? A lot of the women push this communist agenda, this communist issue, right? And it sounds like them, and that's why they come with this Democrat Socialist Party of America. That's today's Democrat Party. Bernie Sanders is a part of it, right? I mean, pretty much any Democrat that's over there sounds like what we're going to listen to and what we're going to hear, what you already heard here over the next 3 weeks, hopefully, if I can get it all in, right? Okay, so, but some key figures in these organizations, okay? We're going to do a little deep dive, maybe for about 30 minutes, but let's go back. Let's talk about, because you heard William Pastor talk about 1930s, 1940s. So you can see how long it's been that the United States, that the communists have been trying to subvert the United States. Excuse me, the United States. Okay, the CPUSA was born in 1919 of all places, guess, Chicago, right? Chicago is like this, is the belly of the beast when it comes to bad politics in the United States. I mean, look at Illinois. Look at what's happening in Illinois today. You have a communist mayor. You have a communist governor, right? Chicago is a shithole. I mean, a lot of these places where these communists run these cities and states, you're going to find black women. I've said that before. Find me a city or a state ran by a black Democrat woman that's not a shithole. Or a black man for that point, or a white man for that point. But since they like to put the women out front, Jasmine Crockett is what I was thinking about, right? Just listen to her. Everything she says is race. Everything she talks about is race and racism. Everything these people talk about. These are the communists of today. Okay? I mean, and they exploit black pain. Even the black ones, these are what I call the overseers, okay? Because they exploit the black pain. Yeah, we know that. I mean, and if y'all are going to be truthful with yourselves, right? We all know that black people in this country didn't get everything that white people got. Let's just be honest with that, okay? But not making any excuses. In today's times, we can get whatever we want. I mean, my son's a doctor. He's going to be the only Air Force pediatrician in the Air Force. Emergency room pediatrician at that. Emergency room pediatrician in the Air Force. I mean, we suffered through Jim Crow, lynchings, poverty. We all know that. That's the black pain that the communists want to exploit and still want to exploit. It's the same game plan. This is used to be for Soviet chaos. I don't know who's running it. I don't know if it's for Soviets anymore or if it's just for the communists here that's already in the United States. Is it China now? Because they say China is our biggest threat to America. I don't think it is. No, but all of this is rooted in Trotskyism. We're talking about Trotsky, right? His permanent revolution. I'm going to explain to you what that is too. I should have it in my notes somewhere. I mean, it's taken me months to put this together. Okay, I mean, so we're gonna talk about his permanent revolution via the CAA. Tell you what that is in the IOD. I'm going to explain all these organizations to you and the people and these players, because I think you need to know who these players are and the organizations are to understand and get a grasp on how big this actually was and how big I think it still is in the Democrat Socialist Party of America, the Democrat Communist Socialist Party of America. I don't even call them socialists anymore. I just call them straight up communists. Okay, we're going to talk about Don West Highlander. You saw in the picture where it said Rosa Parks, MLK, and a couple other people. You know, they was at this Highlander school, right? You had John Lewis, who's dead now, and you had Abernathy. Okay, Abernathy, who was the mayor of Atlanta. Okay, they went to his Highlander school. This Highlander school was ran by Don West, who actually taught activists, who taught people how to be activists, to have the uprisings, to have the marches. This is what they learned in Highlander and the Black Panther Party. And for me, the Black Panther Party was really fighting for justice in the black neighborhoods. The Black Panther Party really did a lot for the black neighborhoods. You know, yeah, they were pro-black. Okay, they were pro-black. And I don't, you know, some of them, of course, in the Black Panther Party, just like they were communists. We talk about them, Angela Davis. We talk about, you know, Huey Newton and some of those people. You know, but everything was ran by the HUAC and COINTELPRO. Okay, COINTELPRO was supposedly, and I'll explain that, supposedly the program used to infiltrate the communists in these black movements, because this is what the communists were using. They were using black people. Okay, so we got the DSA. It carries echoes in 2025. Like I said, women like Claudia Jones, you'll learn who she is. Angela Davis, Septima Clark, AOC, right? Even though she's not black, she's a communist. Listen to what she's talking about. I'm gonna later, it might be next week or even in the third week, when I show you AOC's script in 2019, her speech is the same as Claudia Jones's speech back in the 1930s. Right? This communist who was with the Communist Party USA, Claudia Jones, and AOC modeled her speech. I was like, everybody want to wonder where AOC came from. Bartender from Boston College. How did she get in here? Because she was recruited by the Communist Party for the Hispanics, not even for the blacks. She was recruited because there was a lot of, you know, Hispanic plight, you know, the things that they had, like I say, what, Cesar Chavez and them people like that, right? The guy down in Cuba, you know, Che Guevara, right? All of these people, you know, so they need somebody Hispanic to get the Hispanic people rolling too, right? So they shaped or fought the CPUSA's agenda, and they're still doing it today, while Julia Brown, who went undercover, and William exposed it. They exposed it. So we're going to try to frame every player to see if communists are still in our government now, with sources and pretty much some raw details of that. Like Ann said in the chat, we're going to try to bring some receipts. We're going to bring the receipts, you know, and you know, like Carolyn said here in the chat, this race is bullshit, and it is. You know, I've never truly had an issue with a white person. They may have had issues with me, some of the things I may say or do or whatever, but you know, I've never had really an issue with a white person, right? But it's always been, like Carolyn, it's always been the government. It's been poking the bear, you know, and you know, this is what it is, because I've told people before that black people were actually, and you guys may not understand this, but black people were better off before the civil rights movement. We had our own things. You know, we had our Black Wall Streets, and I say streets with an S because Tulsa, Oklahoma wasn't the only Black Wall Street. They got burned down and bombed. Everybody know that story, and if you don't, look it up in the 1920s, right? Look up Black Wall Street. Okay, they had a movie about it. So we're gonna just take our time and dive through this because I think it's important. I think it's important. The Freedom School, we're gonna talk about the Black Bolsheviks. Harry Haywood is in here. We're gonna talk about a lot of people. We're gonna talk about Manning. Okay, we're gonna talk about Manning Johnson. Manning Johnson was in the Communist Party. Okay, he wrote a book, Color, Communism, and Common Sense. He got out and he wrote a book and he gave a farewell address. And right after he gave his farewell address, he supposedly died, had a car accident, but he didn't die from the car accident. He actually died later, a couple of days later, from a heart attack. But we're going to get to that, and we're going to get to his book too, because it's a fascinating book. So, like I said, we got a few things to cover. So, let's talk about, like I say, these key figures. Let's talk about some of the key black men. And I'm going to say Malcolm X, right? But Malcolm X wasn't a communist. Malcolm X he was a Muslim. He was with the Nation of Islam. Okay, he was about separation from the white race and not, with the blacks, right? Malcolm X was more about that. He was definitely against liberals. He said that white liberals were the black man's worst enemy. So Malcolm X understood who the communist was, but COINTELPRO swept up Malcolm X because he was anyone that talked pro-black, anyone that was able to get the masses of black people to listen. COINTELPRO, jumped in on him, and we'll talk about that. But he was born. He was born in Omaha, Nebraska, in 1925. That's he was born, right? He was born to some organizers. His father was killed in 1931. He turned to crime, like say in Michigan. His name was Detroit Red. That was Malcolm X. He wasn't always a Muslim. He learned Islam in prison. He was in prison for like 6 years. Joined the Nation of Islam in Harlem. He led Harlem's Temple number 7 in 1964. So, but he embraced Sunni Islam. He left when he left the Nation of Islam. He went on his Mecca journey, and when he embraced Sunni Islam, which was different, But I like to say he had no CPA USA ties. But his famous speech was the ballot or the bullet, where it was capitalism is a vulture. That's what he thought. But he drew the HUAC's black extremist label because of speeches like that, because of really being pro-black. So COINTELPRO infiltrated the Nation of Islam and Malcolm X through an FBI informant. They have all these informants, right? And some people actually say that Julia Brown was a traitor to a race. A lot of black people, a lot of people in the Communist Party then and now, a lot of black people would say that Julia Brown was a traitor because she was an FBI informant on the Communist Party. Okay. And of course, y'all know Malcolm X was assassinated in 1965, most likely by the FBI or CIA. Most likely, right? So that's one of the players in here. So we got Paul Robeson. If you've never heard of Paul Robeson was, and they talk about how black people were so oppressed, right? We've always been oppressed, right? Okay, this is what they want you to think. Well, Paul Robeson was born in 1898 in Princeton, New Jersey. Okay, formerly he is enslaved, to an enslaved father. He graduated from Rutgers in 1919. Okay, he graduated from Rutgers. He was the Rutgers valedictorian in 1919. It doesn't sound like Paul Robeson was too oppressed to me. Okay, he went to Columbia Law School, graduated Columbia Law School in 1923. Okay, he joined the CPUSA in 1936. He led the CAA, and I'll tell you what the CAA is in a little bit. He praised Stalin's anti-racism in 1934 on his Moscow visit. Stalin was this big, supposedly anti-racism guy, and they always used anti-racism with the Negroes, with the black people, to get them to basically come to their side and think that, well, yeah, we're for you, we understand your plight, but we're talking about Stalin here, right? So in 1956, he got under the HUAC. HUAC got on him. He had his passport revoked. COINTELPRO monitored him in the 1960s. He funded the NAACP, died in 1976. We'll get into that. That's Paul Robeson. But like I said, we're going to get into these major players. But these are players that didn't start the party, but the Communist Party. They joined in, later in life because they thought this was the thing for Black people, right? This is the party that took care of Black people, not the Democrat Party. You notice it wasn't the Democrat Party. I mean, because we're talking about the 1930s and 1940s, right? And Black people at that time was actually, and you have to know the difference, right? Black people at that time were conservatives. Black people have always been conservatives until 1968. 1965, 1968, 1965, you got the Voters' Rights Act, right? But again, who passed the Voters' Rights Act of 1965? It was the Republicans, because all of the Democrats, they basically boycotted, and they filibustered the 1965 Civil Rights Act. And, you have these Democrats that want to always throw that out there. Oh, well, the 1965 Civil Rights Act. Yeah, that the Democrats didn't fucking vote for at all. It was the Republicans that passed that. And it was Martin Luther King that ended up getting Lyndon B. Johnson to sign it after Kennedy's death and after, Martin Luther King, right? He got him to sign it to bring Black people over to the Democrat Party. Because Lyndon Johnson was one of the biggest racist presidents in America of all time. When he took over after Kennedy was assassinated and murdered, he felt that was the thing, because he said, I'm going to have these niggas voting Democrat for 200 years. For 200 years. And he signed the Civil Rights Movement. They passed the Civil Rights Bill, 1965. And so Black people began to think that, hey, this is the party. The Democrat Party is for Black people. The Democrat Party is the same as the Communist Party. Same people. Okay, so more players. We got a long list of these people. Like I say, this first segment, this first show is probably going to go and tell you the people and all the actors and actresses and organizations to get the background of the story, right? So yeah, W.E.B. Du Bois. And some people say Du Bois, but it's Du Bois, right? Du Bois. He was born in 1868 in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. He had Harvard, oh man, another oppressed Negro. A Harvard PhD in 1895. 1895, Harvard PhD. He co-founded NAACP in 1909. He edited The Crisis. He joined the CPUSA in 1961 after what? A 1926 Soviet visit. The HUAC's 1951 Peace Information Center probe acquitted. He got acquitted from that, led to COINTELPRO's Ghana surveillance when he went to Ghana. COINTELPRO was on him. He wrote, some of these people were poets and writers. You had Langston Hughes. The Souls of Black Folk, which was written by W. Du Bois, probably his biggest publication, his biggest book. It defined Black intellectualism. He died in 1963. So Black intellectualism, but Black people were oppressed somehow. Okay, William Patterson, where you heard William Leonard Patterson, you heard him at the beginning of the show. Born in 1891 in San Francisco, went to UC Berkeley Law. Went to UC Berkeley Law School. Another oppressed Negro, man. He joined the CPUSA in 1926, and you heard him at the beginning of the show say because he thought, that the Communist Party was for Black people. Isn't that what they say about the Democrat Party? You guys, I hope you see and understand the correlation as we go through this. The same thing that we're going to talk about that the Communist Party CPUSA did, okay? Communist Party of the United States of America preached and did and trained. It's the same thing that the Democrat Party is doing today. I'm going to keep saying that over and over, probably until it sink in, right? So he joined in 1926. He led the ILD, and that's the International Legal Defense Fund, okay? He defended the Scottsboro Nine. We're going to talk about the Scottsboro Nine. I'm going to play you a clip about the Scottsboro Nine. If you haven't heard of that and who that is, you will learn about that. You're going to learn about a lot over these next 3 weeks. I'm going to have a guest next week. We're going to talk about it too. I'm going to try to get through this. But you're going to learn a lot here about probably a lot of things you never heard of, especially all you white listeners, all what they call you Charlies, all you Charlies, the man, all you Charlies might learn a lot. You might learn a lot. But I mean, you guys, I went through so much stuff, so much material. I mean, I could literally probably do this for a month or two, you know. But again, I want to try to tie it up in a couple of weeks, you know, in a couple of weeks and get it done and over, you know, so we can move on. All right, so that's William Patterson. You got Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton, born in 1948 in Chicago. He joined the Black Panther Party in 1967, led the Illinois chapter, founded the Rainbow Coalition. You guys heard of that, right? He founded the Rainbow Coalition with Young Lords and Young Patriots. No known CPUSA ties, no known, but the Black Panther Party Marxism drew his part of the Black Panther Party. Like I say, he joined it. And the Black Panther Party, they're Marxist views, okay? They had Marxist views because it wasn't capitalist. So, of course, they're going to say it was Marxist. So it drew the HUAC's 1968 Black Nationalist Probe. Now, here it is for me, right? Because we're talking about nationalists, being nationalism. You know, I think that right now, you know, the HUAC will probably come after me because I'm what I would say a Black nationalist. I love America. This is my country. I think America first, America. Really, I'm America only at this point. Because I'm really sick of the Likud Party controlling DC and controlling the government. If you missed that, yeah, I said the Likud Party. Because we're talking about white nationalists, like it's a bad thing, you know. Being a Black nationalist and a white nationalist, I think that's just love of your country. You know, love of who you are. You love being white. I love being Black. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, the color you are, you know, where you came from. There's nothing wrong with that. But people try to make that sound like a bad thing. And this is what they did back with HUAC, unfortunately. And Intel Pro, they came up with, you know, the Black nationalist was a bad thing. But white nationalist is a good thing. You can't have it both ways, right? You know, they probed them, COINTELPRO infiltration again from informant William O'Neill. Okay. William O'Neill was an informant for the FBI. He got murdered in 1969 in a Chicago police raid. Imagine that. I wonder how that happened, right? How did an FBI informant get murdered in a Chicago police raid? But in 1982, the FBI they gave his family a $1.8 million settlement. The FBI did $1.8 million settlement in 1982 to his family. And of course, we have Martin Luther King Jr. You guys know about him, and another. He got his bachelor's in Morehouse, HBCU. He went to Boston University, got his PhD in Boston University, 1955. His BA in 1951. He led the Montgomery boycott. You guys know that, 1955, 1956. Founded the SCLC in 1957. His Highlander visit, he went and gave a speech there. At the Highlander School where they were trained, Rosa Parks and these people were trained at. Okay. Supposedly no CPUSA ties though. No CPUSA ties per se. He didn't join the party. He wasn't part of the Communist Party. You know, and I think, and I totally believe he was used by the Communist Party. He was duped, you know, I would say. And then again, maybe, you know, because he was advised by ex-CPUSA Stanley Levison. So he had a handler, okay? Martin Luther King Jr. had a handler who was a communist, So of course, COINTELPRO was all over Dr. Martin Luther King. You guys know he got assassinated in 1968. Okay, so those I think are the key black men, that we can talk about. So let's talk about some of the key white men, okay? Because you guys the NAACP was not founded by black men. It's founded by a white guy. BLM was founded by a white guy. So I call them handlers. All of these organizations and all of these black people, because if you look at it now, okay, let's just go and look at it now and look at who I think, have handlers, because it's very, very suspicious and very, very, I would call it hilarious that you have all of these black social justice warriors, congresswomen, especially congresswomen, whatever, right? These social justice warriors that talks about whitey, how racist America is, how racist, the white American male is, and and that the white American male or the white male is the biggest threat to black people in America. So you have all this stuff, right? And then you have all these people that's interracially married. They have handlers. These are their communist handlers, I believe. This is what I believe, okay? You have Kamala Harris has a white Jewish handler, her husband. You have AOC has a white Jewish handler, her boyfriend or whatever. You have Ilhan Omar has a white husband. You got Don Lemon. He has a white husband. I mean, you just go on and look at it. You go on and look at it and look at, especially these black women, and I'm not trying to talk bad or down about my sisters, but the liberal black woman is who they're using now to push their agenda, right? Because the liberal black woman is supposed to be the biggest oppressed, I guess, group in the nation. If they're the biggest oppressed group in the nation, why is it that white liberal women are the biggest, the biggest, not supporters, but the biggest winners, I guess you can say, of DEI? They're the biggest winners of DEI. White liberal women are. Affirmative action. White liberal women, again, were the biggest winners of white affirmative action. Of affirmative action, rather, not white affirmative action. Might as well be white affirmative action. And black women are always co-signing on white, racist, women, liberal bullshit. And they get left out, but they complain. So this is why black women supposedly are sitting out now, because the white liberal women didn't support them and vote for the Indian lady with the white Jewish handler, Kamala Harris, for president. So the black women are supposedly sitting on the sidelines now. Okay, so let's talk about these white men. You got Leon Trotsky. Leon Trotsky was born Lev Bronstein. It's so funny how these Jewish people, and people are going to say, you're talking about the Jews. No, I'm not. I'm talking facts, right? These people that were born with these Jewish last names change their names to make it seem like there's someone else or of another, race or of another group of people. I mean, you got Benjamin Netanyahu. His name was Benjamin Malachowski. His name wasn't Netanyahu. His dad changed their name to Netanyahu so to sound more Middle Eastern. He was born Malachowski. These people always change their name. So born Lev Bronstein in 1879 in where else? Ukraine. In Ukraine. He led the 1917 October, these things always keep coming up, right? October Revolution. He helped build the Red Army, but he got exiled in 1929. He got exiled in 1929. He got killed by Stalin's agent in 1940. He founded the Fourth International, is what it's called, this group. Okay, we'll get in more in this Trotsky too. By 1933, his black belt thesis, he wrote this black belt thesis where he pushed black separatism. which inspired the CPUSA CAA. Okay, we'll tell you what the CAA is. Stanley Levison, who we just said was Martin Luther King Jr.'s handler, he advised Martin Luther King Jr. I believe he was his handler, his CPA USA handler. He was in the Communist Party USA, born in 1912 in New York City. He funded the CPUSA until 1956. And again, he advised MLK. He ghost wrote. This is the guy that wrote a lot of Martin Luther King Jr. speeches for the SCLC. And wrote mostly all the speeches for the SCLC. This white dude that was a communist. So HUACs in 1962 reporting cited his CPUSA past, which fueled the COINTELPRO of SCLC wiretaps per 2025 FBI files. That's all coming out, right? All of this stuff is in these MLK files, by the way. All of these people, a lot of these people with a lot of this stuff is in the MLK files. Files. He died in 1979, right? But so these FBI files they were declassified in 2025. So we're pulling stuff from there. We're pulling stuff from the SCLC, from the archives of the 1960s. We're pulling stuff from 1937. Library of Congress in Mexico. We went deep. We went deep, to pull some of this stuff, right? So Louis Bundins, you guys never heard of him probably, born July 17th, 1891 in Indianapolis. He joined the CPUSA in 1935. He edited the Daily Worker newspaper. Okay, he left in 1945 and became an FBI informant. This was one of the three. You had Bundins, you had Julia Brown, and you had William Patterson, who turned FBI informants. Okay, he was another one. Okay, when he left the CPUSA in 1945, and he was one of three. Those three gave the 1946 HUAC testimony, where he named Gerhard Eisler. I'm going to tell you who Gerhard Eisler is next. Okay, guiding COINTELPRO in his 1975 this church committee. He died in 1972. Like I said, they infiltrated over 400 or 500 churches, black churches in the United States. So they were definitely using the black plight and the black people, right? And I'm going to check the chat. Let me make sure I don't have any questions in the chat. All right, here you go. Boom, boom. Okay, so anyway, all right, no chat. So hope we're keeping everybody. Hopefully this isn't too dry. This portion isn't too dry, but like I said, I think it's very, very important that you know these players. You have to know the players, and you have to know what we're dealing with, I think, BA in sociology from Morehouse, Lee Harper, you're definitely right. Absolutely. Hey, Rob Timmons, welcome to the show. Watching over there on Facebook. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for joining into the show. So to all the newcomers, we appreciate you. We just get it in, man, here on this show in the Lions Den. Normally we talk about current events, but there's enough current event stuff going around, man. You can go catch Steve Bannon, Fox News, shit, whatever you watch. You can get all the current news, Charlie Kirk, whatever. Whatever you watch, man, you guys go get it. If you guys listen to Mark Levin, go get it. Okay, so Gerhard Eisler, he was born in Germany, Nazi. He was a Nazi German. So he was a com intern agent. Okay, he was a communist intern agent. He started that. So he led the CPUSA Soviet ops from 1930s to the 1940s. Okay, he was one of the main agents for the communists here from Germany. He fled in 1949 after the Smith Act conviction. I'll get into that. But per Bundins, the guy, previous Louis Bundins, 1946 HUAC testimony, he bolted. He got out of here. Gerhard Eisler he escaped, but he died in 1968. So you see, I mean, this is pretty recent, right? I mean, if you want to talk about recent, a lot of these people died, 79 in the 60s and 70s. So these people are still operating here in the United States. Okay, we got John Bachtel. He was an Antioch College grad, 1956. He was born, joined CPUSA in 1970s. He was the chairman for the Communist Party USA 2014 to 2019. And get this about, okay, he worked Obama's 2008 campaign. So we have a known communist who is the chairman of the Communist Party USA from 2014 to 2019, and he worked Obama's campaign in 2008. No HUAC ties, and the reason there were no HUAC ties to him because the HUAC does not exist anymore. They ended the HUAC in the 60s. It's over, right? So there were no HUAC ties. But, he faced this DNI scrutiny because he was one of the people that brought in the DEI, with Obama, right? So we have a known communist, like I say, the chair after Obama's campaign, probably still advised Obama because Obama was president from 2008 to 2016. And this guy was the chairman of the Communist Party USA from 2014 to 2019. They worked on his campaign. We all know who J. Edgar Hoover is, right? J. Edgar Hoover was the FBI director. He viewed the Communist Party, rightly so, and civil rights as threats. Civil rights may not be, but the civil rights movement got hijacked by the communists. And of course, he oversaw the entire COINTELPRO program targeting Martin Luther King, Hampton, and all the other ones. And Hoover died in 1972. William Sullivan, born 1912, he oversaw the COINTELPRO from 1961 to 1971. Okay, targeting the same people. Supposedly, he died in a 1977 hunting accident, supposedly. We'll say that. So Ed Friend was was born in Georgia. He was a segregationist. He was a photographer, right? And he infiltrated Highlanders. Highlander, like I said, was this school, okay? And Highlander's 1957 event when Martin Luther King gave his speech and was there. He photographed Martin Luther King with Don West. Don West was the person who co-founded Highlander. Okay, Don West, born 1906. In Devils, imagine that, Devils Hollow, Georgia, to poor Appalachian farmers. Went to Lincoln Memorial University, Vanderbilt, Divinity. He wrote radical poetry, Clots of Southern Earth. You can go check that out. He co-founded Highlander with a person named Miles Horton. Trained Rosa Parks, MLK, John Lewis, shaping the Voting Rights Act. Okay, the Voting Rights Act. I think that was in 1965, right? So he trained all these people. He said he had no CPA membership, but his poetry echoed class struggle, drawing, of course, the HUACs, 1957. It was a communist training school, is what it was. This is what the HUAC said it was, a communist training school. It was in Tennessee. And so when the school got the name or the moniker of Communist Training School, Tennessee revoked the charter in 1961, citing liquor violations. So I guess they were up there drinking. 1961, they had some liquor violations and they removed this charter. But West reopened it as Highlander Center. He ran Appalachian South Folk Life Center. Okay, and that's what it was. So, and of course, it says it echoes and Harris's 2024 voter drives because the Voters' Right Act and the voter drives, same deal. Like I said, MLK was there in 1957. And then when we was running this, right? I mean, like I said, we're coming up to present, okay? And when I started looking at this and looking, okay, give me a president, they white. I mean, this guy is not really white, but Zoran Mamdani, and you guys know he's running for the mayor of New York City. He was born in Uganda, raised in New York City, right? But he's a self-proclaimed socialist. And when you listen at this guy talk, I mean, he's part of the Democrat Socialist Party. He says that they back in the Democrat Socialist Party of America back this guy. So we're talking about a socialist communist that could very well become the mayor of New York City. I think he should get deported myself, but that's up to President Trump and whoever else to do that. So those are the men. Okay. Those are some of the men. Now we're going to start getting into some of the women. And like I said before, the women, and when you look at these organizations, right, they put the women out front. Why do they do that? Because women, if they get attacked, it looks very, very bad, right? Women can play the sexist role, if we're talking about them, or you're sexist, you're a bigot. If you attack a woman, arrest a woman or whatever, it looks very, very bad. So they always tend to put these women out front. And you see it now with the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party has zero, and you look at it, and if I'm wrong, tell me, but they have zero alpha type men that are leading the party. Who's the leaders of the Democrat Party? You have the squad full of women. Bowman's gone. Cori Bush is gone. You have AOC. You have Crockett. You have Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, which is part of the. I mean, look at it. What guy? Okay, they're trying to prop up, I guess, Zoran Mamdani, I guess, to be the alpha male or the one that's in front of the Democrat. I mean, because what's his name? Hakeem Jeffries is a punk. Hakeem Jeffries is not a leader of that party. The people of the party, the members of the Democrat Party don't even like Hakeem Jeffries. They say they're weak. All the men are weak. So when we're talking about women, okay, we're going to talk about Claudia Jones first, okay? She was born in Trinidad. She wasn't even born here in the United States. She moved to Harlem, 1920. Imagine that, right? Another immigrant, I guess. The face probably mother died from factory overwork. She was self-educated. I give her that. She joined the Communist Party USA, the Young Communist League, 1936, after the Scottsboro 9 case. And I'm going to tell you what the Scottsboro 9 case was. So just hold on. And she actually was the front runner. She not front runner, but she was the out front that led the Harlem rent strikes. She wrote for the Daily Worker. And this is the lady that I said, her speech, okay, she coined the term triple oppression, race, class, gender. Okay? This is classic textbook. You see Crockett using it. You see AOC using it. You see all of these women social justice warriors using race, class, and gender. She coined it, Claudia Jones. Triple oppression. She wrote an essay in 1949, okay? An end of the neglect of the problems of the Negro woman. Race, class, gender. What does the Democrat Party talk about all the time now? Especially we talk about women. They talk about, you saw it hard with Kamala Harris, right? Race, class, gender. Running for president, race, class, gender. Everything was race, class, gender, right? And this is from this 1949 essay, and I'm going to prove it to you at the end with AOC and her 2019 speech in 2019. Okay, she was deported. This one was deported to London in 1955 under the Smith Act. Okay, we talk about being convicted under the Smith Act for CPUSA leadership. Okay, so the Smith Act got rid of some of these communists that got deported. She got deported because she wasn't from here. Okay, she didn't have any violent charges. She founded the West Indian Gazette She organized the Notting Hill Carnival 1959, HUAC's 1951 probe. That's when COINTELPRO jumped on her ass, labeled her as a Soviet agent, citing 1940s Moscow visits. Another one that went to Moscow and came back, a commie. Like I say, she died in 1964, but her influences is part of the Democrat Socialist Party. And I say DSAs, okay? When I say DSA, Democrat Socialist Party of America, they're anti-racism, okay? Negro women are triple oppressed by race, class, and sex. That's what she said in 1949 in the Daily Worker and in her essay. That was the essay. And this is who run the Democrat Party today. Okay. I don't consider AOC a Negro, but she's close enough. Now they say women of color, right? So maybe not Negro women, but women of color. Let's just replace women of color, since they want to throw Negro and Hispanic and all the women of color and all people of color in one big group, like we're one big melting pot. I never bought into that. Don't call. I'm not a person of color. I'm not a person of color. I'm a Black American, Negro American, whatever you want to call me. But I'm not a person of color. I have my own identity. Angela Davis, everybody know who, well, should know if you've heard of Angela Davis, right? Big afro. She was born in 1944 in Birmingham, Alabama. Okay. And segregated Dynamite Hill. Okay. That's what it was segregated up there that time. She got her BA in 1965. And notice how a lot of these oppressed Black people all got college degrees. A lot of them, I think. The only one so far that didn't have one is Claudia Jones, who was self-educated at Watley High School. The rest of them have BAs. And if you look at all of the social justice warriors today, you talk about, Kendi, you talk about, like say any of these congresswomen, the squad, any of these people out here, that's the social justice warrior types, right? They're all educated. They're all educated, but they're oppressed. They're oppressed, educated Black people. So she studied under Herbert Marcuse at UC San Diego, joined the CPUSA Che La Mamba Club in 1969. And she actually ran for VP. She actually ran for vice president 1980, 1984. You saw how in 1940, right? Because what was it, 1960 something? I forget the date, 70s, maybe 70 something, right? The president and the vice president was not on the same ticket. The Senate actually chose the vice president. So you can have a person running for president and a person running for vice president, and they could get elected vice president, right? You can have a Democrat vice president and a Republican president, or vice versa back then. Until they changed it. I think that was, 16 or something? Amendment 16, maybe? You guys can fact check me on that, but I believe that was Amendment 16 where they changed that. Carolyn, no, Carolyn is a smarter girl. And so Carolyn, help me out on that. Or anybody, you guys can help me out. But well, let me see, where was I? Okay, we're talking about Angela Davis, right? Okay, so she expanded on Jones's triple oppression, right? So this is a theme. This is going to be a reoccurring thing with Black women, reoccurring thing, and it's still reoccurring thing, right? Right? Race, class, and sex, right? Race, class, gender, right? Race, class, sex, gender now, right? So she was fired from UCLA in 1970 by who? By who? Ronald Reagan in 1970, fired because she was a professor. I think she is a professor now somewhere as well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But she was fired from UCLA in 1970 by Ronald Reagan for CPUSA ties, but was acquitted. She was acquitted in 1972 from the Soledad brothers case after 16 months in jail. The Soledad brothers case, we're going to talk about that too. Okay, the Soledad brothers were 3 guys that was in jail that got convicted of a murder of a guard in jail, but we'll talk about that. Soledad was the name of the prison. So HUAC's 1969 Communist Activities Report. Angela Davis is huge in this. She was huge and always have been. Okay, but COINTELPRO targeted her from 1967, 1972. And everything she does shapes DSAs, DEI, reparations, prison abolition, okay, per her 2021 platform, okay. Faces, commie, what they say, smears. These are not smears, right? And her quote, she famous for this one famous quote, radical simply means grasping things at the root, is what she says. And Julia Brown, so you heard Julia Brown, 1908, born 1908, Georgia, moved to Cleveland, homegirl, whoop, 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 whoop. Cleveland, Ohio, in the 1930s. She has limited education. She wasn't educated. She wasn't, a college degree, right? But she was smart enough to get to understand what the Communist Party was doing here in the United States. She worked as a domestic, I guess, what was that? Clean houses, made beds, whatever domestic is. Clean houses for white folk. She did join the Communist Party USA in 1940s, disillusioned by Soviet control, left in 1950, became an FBI informant for 10 years. 10 years. If we have time, we're going to get into that article, Ebony article, but it's long. It's long, but if we have time, we'll come back to that. So from the 1950, 1960, she testified at the HUAC in 1962, exposing CPUSA's church infiltration in Cleveland, Ohio. She claimed the Communist Party USA targeted black churches to stir racial strife. And it was like 400 churches, 400 or 500, some shit, but I think 400. To stir racial strife in Cleveland, Ohio, where I was born, y'all. But it fueled COINTELPRO targeting of the CAA, ILD, BPP. No Highlander or DSA ties, but her warnings echoed Joe McCarthy's fears about the communists infiltrating here in the United States. She was criticized for enabling COINTELPRO overreach. She died in 1984. We're going to have a lady on next week that's going to talk about her as well. So communists used Negro churches to push Moscow's line. And you look at the black church, you look at some of these black churches today, right? And you look at some of these, you got Jamal Bryant down in Atlanta. You had Obama's dude, his church guy, Jeremiah Wright. But you look at some of these black churches across America in these cities, right? If you ever gone to a black church, right? If you've never gone to a black church, white person, go to a black church. Go check it out. But this is what they do in these black churches. You go to some, you feel like they're some of the biggest oppressed people in there, but they're asking for money, man. And them pastors, man, they got everything, man. They got it going on. But the communists are still using Negro churches because you got these communists in the pulpits called pastors. They're still pushing this Moscow line. They're still pushing this oppression. All black people are still oppressed. We can't get driver's license. We can't make it to voting polls on time. We got to stand in long lines. Yeah, stand in long lines for concerts, but you can't stand in a long line to vote. You stand in long lines sometimes at restaurants, but you can't stand in line to vote. You got ID for everything else, but you can't get ID to vote. This is the BS, man, that they continue to feed it. And people say, why is it that black people always vote Democrat? Because they've been brainwashed. It's just like any brainwashing, right? There's a lot of fucking people, Republicans, that's brainwashed right now by MAGA and Trump. That's totally brainwashed. Man, I can't say one thing again. As much praise as I've given Trump, I can't say one thing about him without somebody saying, "Oh, you're a traitor to MAGA. Oh, you're just going against Donald Trump. Why do you hate Trump all of a sudden? Why are you no longer a conservative?" Why? Because I said I don't care. I don't agree that Donald Trump keep endorsing Lindsey Graham. That I don't believe that we should keep giving Israel $3 billion a year. And I disagree with Trump on that. That's what I say, man. I mean, you talk about coach, and I actually put up a post on Facebook today because I was just tired of this. I'm like, you know what? The same, I get called by black people, all sorts of names, man. Hater, I'm a hater. I'm a traitor to my race because I'm a conservative. I always have been, and I support Donald Trump. But then I get these MAGA cult members. Oh, you're a traitor to MAGA. You're a traitor to the Republican Party because you keep attacking Donald Trump. I attack Donald Trump when he does stupid shit. Yeah, I do. I'm going to hold him accountable. I still want the Epstein list, dog. I'm going to hold him accountable for everything that he ran on, just like any other president. I'm going to hold him accountable. It has nothing to do with being MAGA or being, Donald. It has everything to be doing America first and America only. That's what it has to do. So if you want to call me a traitor or no longer whatever, man, you sound like Democrats. Man, you sound like liberal Democrats. You guys are the same people. You guys are the same people. One with the D, one with the R, man. You guys are the same people. And I thought conservatism was supposed to be, hey, man, you can have your own thoughts. You can think. You let people think the way they want to think, right? We have our own value. We have our values, smaller government, but we hold people accountable. That's what I thought being conservative meant. I mean, the MAGA shit, yeah, make America great again. I'm like, I'm America only, America first, bitch. How about that? How about that? Okay, I digress a little bit. Go tell that. Dorothy Healy, and by the way, Dorothy Healy is a white lady. I've been mentioning black ladies all the time, right? Dorothy Healy is a white lady. She was born to Hungarian immigrants in Denver, 1914. She joined the CPUSA at 14 years old. She joined the Communist Party USA in 1928. She led Los Angeles's CPUSA organized farm workers from 1940 to 1960. 20 years, man. She was getting it. She dropped out of UCLA. And here's another one of these handlers I was talking about, right? She mentored Angela Davis in the 1960s. So here we see who Angela Davis's handler is. Angela Davis's handler was a white Hungarian communist lady called Dorothy Healy. She left the Communist Party USA in 1963 after she became disillusioned with the Soviet Union and the communists after the invasion of Czechoslovakia. I can't believe I said that right, man. I used to couldn't say that shit, right? Per California Red. California Red was this Soviet magazine, Soviet publication. So she left the Communist Party USA after the Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia. HUAC became pro her in the 1950s. She became under COINTELPRO surveillance from 1948 to 1968. She has no Highlander, which means she wasn't trained or have any Black Panther Party ties. She wasn't trained at Highlander, but her mentorship shaped Davis's DSA influence, right? Her domestic socialism echoes in DSA's 2021 labor platform. She died in 2006, so she's been around a long time. She's been doing the commie thing for a long time, right? So she said one of her quotes was, "Socialism must be democratic, not Stalin's tyranny." 1973. Kathleen Cleaver, I think she's still alive, matter of fact. Kathleen Cleaver, she's black though. Born May 13th, 1945, Dallas, Texas, to academic parents, which means she was a smart little girl. She had smart parents, academic parents. She attended Oberlin. She joined the SNCC. And then 1966, then the Black Panther Party in 1967. After meeting Eldridge Cleaver at Fisk University, which is her husband. She's a communications secretary from 1967 to 1971. She organized free Huey rallies, talking about Huey Newton, for the Black Panther newspaper. And she fled to Algeria in 1969. She ran the Black Panther Party's international office from Algeria. Supposedly no CPUSA ties, but definitely with the Black Panther Party. And of course, her Marxism with the Black Panther Party drew HUAC's Black Nationalist Probe in 1968. COINTELPRO infiltrated, of course. And she had her Yale Law Juris Doctor. Juris Doctor, look at that. In the 1980s, she got and guess what she teaches? She teaches at a very, very prestigious university that my son actually went to in Atlanta, Georgia. She teaches at Emory University. Influences BLM, commies, DSAs, commies. And that says we're fighting for, in the Black Panther, her quote, 1968, we're fighting for our survival, not Moscow's. Not Moscow's. But she teaches, Emory University Emory University is one of those, what they call the Ivy League schools of the South. Emory University was very cool, was very good. My son graduated from there, his BA from there before he went on to medical school. But she still teaches. She teaches at Emory University. Okay, Elaine Brown, 1943. She's still alive. She was born March 2nd, 1943 in Philadelphia, raised in poverty. Raised in poverty, but attended Temple University. All these educated people, man, they have to be educated so they can take control of the uneducated. Because this is what you do. I mean, this is what they do. They put these educated women, black women, in front of all these uneducated Negroes, and they just eat this shit up. They just eat it up. You saw how many uneducated Negroes actually voted for Kamala Harris, yo? How many uneducated Negroes actually said she was black? Yeah, her daddy was Jamaican, blah, 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 blah. You ask any Jamaican, they say, I'm not black, I am Jamaican. I am from Jamaica. I am Jamaican. Her mama was an Indian and said she was from India. That put white on her birth certificate. Yeah. Elaine joined the Black Panther Party in 1968 in LA. She recorded Seize the Time. I guess she was a entertainer. Seize the Time was the Black Panther Party's anthem album. Okay, she was the Black Panther Party chair in 1974, 1977. She was the only woman to lead the Black Panther Party after Huey Newton fled. Okay, she oversaw the breakfast clinics. No CPA USS ties, but HUAC's probe, of course, the Blackity Black probe of 1968. HUAC, gotcha. The COINTELPRO surveillance, gotcha. Okay, she left in 1977 over what else? Sexism. Okay. Now, you ran the only woman to run the Black Panther Party from 1974 to 1977. You were the leader, but you left over sexism? Her influences, she influences DSA, of course. Community organizing is her thing. What does the Democrat Party talk about? Community organizing. Who was Barack Obama, what did he do before he became president? And yes, Barack Obama was a communist like his mama and his daddy and his grandparents. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Community organizing, right? Okay, she said we fed the hungry while the FBI watched. They know the FBI was watching them, but she said we fed the hungry while the FBI watched. A lot of women, man. A lot of women. Erica Huggins. Erica Huggins, born. I gotta rip, man. It's so much, man. I gotta rip through this, man. I got 30 minutes left, right? But see how widespread this is, you know? So Erica Huggins, 1948, joined BPP in 1969. Her husband was with husband John Huggins. She was killed in 1969 UCLA shootout. Lincoln University grad, another educated female, New Haven chapter, right? So we're gonna keep moving. I'm gonna try to speed this up a little bit. Assata Shakur, right? Shakur, my man Tupac's mama, right? Tupac mama. She attended Queens, New York, attended City College. She joined the Black Panther Party in 1970. Then the Black Liberation Army, BLA. She was convicted in 1977 for killing New Jersey trooper. She escaped in 1979 and went hard ass to Cuba. And she was granted asylum in Cuba in 1984. No CPUSA ties, but Who Acts 1970. BLA probe, Black Liberation Army probe, COINTELPRO, got it. Got her arrest 1973. FBI, they still have a $2 million bounty. $2 million bounty on Assata Shakur. She was born Joanne Chesimard, by the way. But she claims that she was framed, which she may have been. A lot of that going on. Okay. Calls herself a black revolutionary, not a red or a commie, not a red. And I believe her. She's definitely a black revolutionary. Septima Clark. I love Tupac, man. Matter of fact, we actually going out on one of Tupac songs tonight. Septima Clark. Listen. Born 1898, Charleston, South Carolina, to formerly enslaved father. She got her BA from Benedict College. Another oppressed black slave, formerly enslaved father, Negro, female, with a degree? 1916? You kidding me, right? Come on, man. She taught in segregated schools, joined the NAACP. She was fired from the NAACP. Imagine that. In 1956 for what? Activism. She led Highlanders citizenship school. So they taught immigrants how to be citizens of what in their citizenship schools for 10 years, 1950, 1960. She trained 10,000 plus voter registration, including how to register people to vote. Right, she trained them. Right, including Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, John Lewis. Again, we talk about Harris's 2024 voter reservation drives. Hey, man, Septima Clark was the great-great-grandmama of that. Literacy is liberation. She believed in that. And that was her 1964 Highlander speech at the Highlander School. Okay, she died in 1987. Of course, COINTELPRO was on her ass. Rosa Parks, you guys know about her, Rosa? And let me tell you this. There's one thing about Rosa Parks and one thing about the civil rights movement. And this I didn't know until a little while ago. They boycotted the Montgomery buses, right? Because, she didn't want to sit in the back of the bus. Oh, you guys know that story, right? But did you all know that was really unfucking necessary? Because we had actually a black bus line that actually was running at the time. Black people just could have caught the black bus. Black people just could have caught the black bus. Seriously. True story. You guys look it up. There was a black bus line that was running in Montgomery, Alabama, where Rosa Parks didn't even have to get on the white bus if she didn't want to. But this is part of the training This is a part of the desegregation. This is part of the civil rights movement. This is a part of all of it, right? She was born in Tuskegee, NAACP, Montgomery secretary. Attended Highlander 1955, trained by Clark. I told you that. Sparked the Montgomery bus boycott by refusing her seat. You guys know that, right? Led to the desegregation ruling. You all know that, right? But what you didn't know is she was a trained activist. She said she was tired of giving in. She got all these awards and everything. I get it. Rosa Parks got us on the white bus. I get it, right? Got us on but you know what that did, though? You know what that did? And a lot of this, it put the black bus company out of business. It put the black bus company out of business. See, a lot of people don't understand that when, like I say, black people didn't suffer nearly as much as white people did with the Great Depression because we always had our own shit. We had to we had to rely on ourselves anyway, right? So we relied on our communities. We were strong. The black community was a strong knit community up until fucking this 1968. And they started giving out welfare with the poverty thing, right? And that's when the black community started failing. That and the drugs, thank you, Ronald Reagan and Oliver North and the CIA bringing the crack to the neighborhoods. Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that another day. But black people, they didn't do minimum wage for black people, y'all. They started minimum wage for white people after the Depression for them. Not for black people. We always made our own way. We had to. We were always conservative, I'm telling you, and we had to. So what Rosa Parks did in the civil rights movement at the time, they put a lot of black businesses out of business because it came with that, and it came with the triple taxation that black businesses got. That's what put the Black Wall Streets out of business. That one in Tulsa, Oklahoma was that one. We had many Black Wall Streets across the nation, many up in Richmond, Virginia. Many Black Wall Streets, right? That's what they call it, right? But then we started getting triple taxed when the Fed came in and the IRS, and we started getting taxed and everything. That's what put a lot of these black businesses out of business. Black people weren't doing that bad, weren't doing bad at all before the civil rights movement. Yeah. Were we able to go into places and things like that? No. Okay, so maybe the Jim Crow thing, we got out of that, right? But when you're talking overall, when you're talking, in the big scheme of things, right? Black people started doing worse after desegregation. We became, and I'm gonna have Ann Craftatus on in the third segment of this, and she's gonna tie this education piece together, right? Do you see how many people I read in this list, right? That were educated, that all had college degrees, right? Okay. Black people were educated. Black people's literacy rate was over 85, 87% back in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Black people were literate. We were educated people. We had a lot of people with degrees, right? Because why? Because we knew that education would take us out of poverty. That's what we learned, right? Get your education, right? So we got our education. Well, when we started desegregating and going to these publicly ran schools, this is when the black decline began in literacy rate, in education, and the poverty rate picked up. And it all stemmed from desegregation. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. A lot of people don't want to hear that, but black people, if you talk to an older black American, like shit, man, black people were better off in the 1930s. in the 1950s than they are in 2025. But that's because we got these boulets and these Pan-American, these Pan-Africans over here overseeing the black Negro, the black people, where we got people, that have these college degrees, they're millionaires, but then they're telling uneducated black people, oh, you can't make it because of whitey. You can't make it because you're black. Right? But this is what it is. Then, like I said, through Andrea Ocasio-Cortez up there, you guys know what she does. You guys know what she does. You know what Rashida Tlaib do. I threw her in there. You guys know what the Cori Bushes of the world, the Jasmine Crockett's, the Kamala Harris's. These are people all on the list. Bernie Sanders, right? These are modern political people. Bernie Sanders. You got Keith Ellison up in Minnesota. Now you got Indians like Rahi Krishnamurthy, or however you say his name, Krishnamurthy. Then you got these organizations, right? You got the Council on American Affairs, that's CAA, 1937 by Robeson, right? You got International Labor Defense. We're gonna get into these about the Scotts, when we talk about the Scottsboro 9 and things like that, right? They were founded in 1925 by the Communist Party USA, the International Labor Defense in Chicago, the Highlander Fort School. We talked about that, right? Empower workers, black community via interracial education, right? It's just, this is where they adapted at this school, right? At this Highlander school in 1957. At this communist training school, in this pamphlet, right? This is where they adapted the "We Shall Overcome" theme. This is where they adopted that at "We Shall Overcome" in this school, in this communist training school. You guys know about the Black Panther Party, the BPP, the Democratic Socialists of America. This is from 1982 to present. 1982 to present. Like I said, you got Mandela, you got AOC, you got all of these Democrat socialists. You got Bernie Sanders. You got, pretty much the entire Democrat Party. The entire Democrat Party are Democrat socialists or communists of America. Okay, Don Weston's Highlander School. He founded it. We got that. We covered Martin Luther King. So we went over that. All right. I'm just going down my list now. For this, I have to have a list of things I want to talk about, right? But Malcolm X, he rejected communism in 1964 in the militant interview. He said, I am no Marxist. This is what Malcolm X said. I am no Marxist. I'm for black unity. Like I say, Malcolm X was a black nationalist. He was for black unity, right? And so he got this black extremist label in 1964 from the HUAC because honestly, they were scared of strong black men and people, to be honest. They were. So you have to understand that if you follow Malcolm X and read his speeches and words, he was definitely for black unity and for black people doing for themselves. He wasn't for handouts or anything like that. He understood, right? The ballot box, he understood that, right? He understood that black people controlled their destiny by voting. And you see this now in some of these cities like Little Mogadishu and up in Dearborn, Michigan, while these Muslims have taken over because they're the majority now and they're voting for their own benefit. Right? Okay, so going through here. Okay, so Trotsky. Okay, so the CPUSA fueled by Trotsky's 1933. I told you guys the Black Belt thesis, right, for black separatism. So he used the CAA and the IOD, and I told you what the CAA and IOD was, to exploit black struggles for Soviet chaos. Okay, Claudia Jones led the Harlem Rent riots. they were reaching 3,000 plus tenants for that. Okay, you had William Patterson, who was in the beginning. Okay, he defended the Scottsboro Nine. He raised $1 million. Think about it, from 1931 to 1937, he raised $1 million to defend the Scottsboro Nine, and they were innocent. So, but they used that case and they used what happened to fuel this communist agenda and the black struggle and the black plight, right? Dorothy Healy, we talked about her from Hungary, and she was from Hungarian parents. She was Hungarian. Okay, she organized the 1940s farm workers strikes. Okay, so these are all communist women. Or were they freedom fighters? Were these freedom fighters? I mean, you talk about these people and these women that were leading these organizations. They were leaders of these organizations. Okay, you have 80,000 members right now in Democrat Socialist Party of USA, of America. Excuse me. 80,000 members. They talk about Harris DI stuff, welders wealth tax. I always talk about taking from the rich and giving to the poor and tax the wealthy. And I remember when Bernie Sanders used to talk about taxing the millionaires. Bernie Sanders have been living off the American tit for his whole life, right? So Bernie Sanders used to talk about tax the millionaires, where he's a millionaire now. So you know what he says? Tax the billionaires. This is what they do, man. Tax the billionaires, right? And Ocasio-Cortez, she DSA 2018 win her Green New Deal. Gratefully got shut down. But I told you we went through Rashida Tlaib and these people. All right, so I'm just going through my list. Okay, so pretty much I'm done. I'm done for the night. As far as part one. So those are the people. Got about 10 minutes left. Those are the people. Those are the organizations. That's a little bit of who they are, what they did, okay, and who their handlers were, and who their handlers are, who their mentors are, who their mentors were, okay. So we dropped a little deep dive on Trotsky, West, Jones, Davis, like I said, the CIA, the Highlander, the CPUS game, the trick. Okay, we talked about the HUAC and COINTELPRO. So now next we're gonna get into more of how they use the Negroes and what things happened for them to be able to do that and to be able to do that. And we're gonna get into Manning Johnson's book next week. Okay, and I'm gonna have a guest on next week. We're gonna talk about that too. But Manning Johnson, he has a book called Color, Communism, and Common Sense. I actually have it in the other room. I forgot to bring it in here so I can show it to you. But I'm reading it, and so I'm going to have it next week. Okay? And so don't forget, guys, you guys can check me out on Getter, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Paycast, Roku TV. Starting in September, though, okay? Starting in September, I use a thing called StreamYard now to stream live. I'm going to be using nothing but Rumble, and I'm hoping to be able to continue to stream live on Getter, on YouTube, on X, through Rumble, through my Rumble studio, okay? And what I'm going to ask you guys to do is to just subscribe, okay? Subscribe to my channel. I'm going to have some of you already have it, some of you already watch on Rumble, okay? If you still watch on YouTube and everything, I'm hoping you'll be able to still watch on YouTube once I switch over to Rumble in September. Totally, I'm just going to stream live from Rumble, from my Rumble studio, okay? And what I'm going to ask all of you to do is subscribe to the channel on Rumble. If it's not streaming live through Getter, if it's not streaming live through through the Rumble, then please just subscribe to the Rumble channel, okay? Please just subscribe to the Rumble channel. And so I'm gonna go through. I got a little bit left. I got a couple minutes. I got about 10 minutes left. So any questions, any comments, or anything? Say, I saw that comment. Shot to be glad it was your post. Oh, we talking about it. I don't support this shit with this trafficking. Okay, so Carolyn, she follows me on Facebook, right? So she's talking about a post on Facebook. And she says, go look up the real Rosa Parks. Rosa was working for the NAACP at the time. Yeah, she was the secretary. She was the communication secretary for the NAACP. Don't forget Cornel West. Yes, Cornel West. But here it is, Louis, man. Thank you for bringing that up, right? Cornel West is a social justice word, but Cornel West, he only goes so far because he did not support Kamala Harris, man. He's like, no. I have that clip. I had that clip of Cornel West, right? He said, no, man. I'm not going that far with them crazy people. Basically, that's what Cornel West was saying, right? Cornel is going to take you there. Cornel is a black nationalist. Cornel West is dealt for black people. I don't think Cornel West is a communist because he didn't support Kamala Harris and he doesn't go, all in on that. Cornel West, I don't even think he supported Black Lives Matter, but Cornel West doesn't go all in. He's about 85% in though, man. I agree with you, Louis, on that. Cornel West said some great things. I wish I could find that clip, man, but I had to delete a bunch of stuff on my computer because it was slowing down. I had over 3,000 clips or something like that on my computer, but I'll try to find that, man. But yeah, man, Cornel West is he's different, man. He's a different brother, but nah, he wasn't for Kamala at all. So, but Jackie, I see you over there on Rumble Land. I don't even know, man. I think I'm having problems on the Maverick Broadcasting Network. I hope it's going live on the Maverick Broadcasting Network. I can't see it over there on Rumble, but I see you on America Happens. I see you over there on so I'm gonna hit this Getter chat real quick. 007 says social justice is the charade they use front for communism. Absolutely. And you can see it. I mean, just from this first part, right? Just from this first part, you can see. I wasn't going to get into the Ebony thing, but I'm not. Because it is long. I mean, but she was a spy for the FBI and she was a hospital. But when you talk about the front for communism, I mean, the Democrat Party, you can see it clearly, but you're going to see it much more clearly in part 2 and part 3 of this segment, this 3-part series, basically, that we're going to do here. And like I say, on the 24th, I'm going to bring in Ann Tatum, and I'm going to and she better be ready. I know she's going to be ready. Her brain runs 1,000 miles a minute, but she always has great information. So she's going to come in probably last hour or so, last hour and a half. I'm going to try to wrap it up quick, the part 3. And I'm going to let her close out the show with the education piece of the commies, okay? The American Shit Problem 1928 Comintern. So I'm going to let her close out this series on the 24th. So you guys stay around for Ann Craft-Tatus because she's an expert in education. I mean, she is. She's a like I say, the VA warrior mom, man. I mean, she puts it all out there. She's one of them type people, sort of like me. We put the information out there and we get attacked, but we don't care. Right? We don't care. But so yes, she's gonna bring it to you on the 24th. On the 24th. So I see her in the chat. So yeah, definitely she's gonna be here. So like I said, I appreciate you all tuning in and just coming in and get it. And what I'll do too, probably in that last week before I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna read the 45 communist goals that were read into the congressional record in 1963. I'm gonna read them again to you so you can actually see that, man, we are fucking living in a communist run country by a bunch of, and you can look and see how President Trump is having to fight these judges. We are infiltrated by communists from the highest levels of government, infiltrated all the way down through the states and cities, all the way down through the local level. Okay, and you guys will see it. You guys will definitely see it. So, like I said, we're gonna stray away from the current events, and because I think I've proven enough on the current events that they're gonna just keep talking about the shit, but shit's not gonna happen. You know, like I told you, I mean, they're going to come back from recess, right? After they come from their Israel trip, they're going to come back from recess and they're going to be talking about the debt. The debt. Why didn't you just stay working instead of taking a recess and taking a sponsored trip to Israel and work on this debt ceiling and funding America without having to give us another $2 trillion omnibus bill and a CR, you know, to kick the can down the road? But I told you guys 2 weeks ago, that's what they're going to do. So, I mean, so we still haven't seen the Epstein list. We're not going to see it. They, you know, talk about Obama and Hillary Clinton and they bringing all this stuff around, but nobody's been arrested. So they're going to keep diverting. So I'm going to let you guys watch that shit somewhere else. I'm not going to talk about it, and, you know, sparingly like I just did. But, you know, I'm going to let them talk about that stuff. We're just going to talk about a little history, okay? We're going to talk about a little history, why, you know, Black people have Stockholm Syndrome, why Black people are still brainwashed by the Communist Party, called the Democrat Party today. All right? So I appreciate you guys. We're going to go out. Like I said, we're going to do it like this today. Y'all be cool, man. I love y'all. Thanks for tuning in. And we are going to go out hard on Asada. The core son. Poop hard. We'll check y'all out next week, man. Peace.
So many battlefield scars, by driven and plucked cars. It's like it's a rap star, nothing without bars. Born rough and rugged, I'm dressing the man public. My attitude is rugged. Motherfuckers love it to be a soldier. Most make they composure at ease, though like it's complicated. Only when you make it beat. And my business as a rider, the clock rocky hot, and horns go up beside her. Then I put some game in the ear, go to the telly ho. Put money in the bin, this bitch I'm back broke. I'm smoking bomb ass weed, feeling crucial. From player to player, the gang stop, feeling mutual. From hustling to praying, to begging motherfuckers to pay. Got no time for these bitches, that these songs hard to play. And more the meal, ticket missing, want a meal. So I'm within competition, got me lit on that bullshit they show. I'm a rhyme, bro, clown hoes like it's mandatory. No plus no glory, my nigga, bitch got the game started. Now it's on in the zone because I said so. You trust the bitch in the business, so I got the gun, bro. Now this money hungry bitches getting suspicious. Started plotting and planning on the schemes to come and trick us. But thug niggas be on point and game tight. Recycling Bogart, rapping up the same night. Got problems and handling my fucking see me. These niggas are jealous, cause deep in their ass they wanna be me. And now you got me right beside you. Hoping you listen, I catch you paying attention to my ambitions as a rider. My ambitions as a rider. It was my only wish to ride above the devil's down with motherfuckers I despise. When it's out to ride, I was the first off inside. Give me the nod, I'm ready to die right here tonight, motherfuckers. That's what they screaming as they drill me, but I'm off the kill. So open fire, so you kill me quick with my feel. Spitting it adversaries, Indians, and after me. I'd rather die before they catch me. Watch me bleed. Mama can rescue me, I'm suicide with the thoughts. I'm innocent, every bullet's flying on the floor. Up to the jail time, better day sacrifice. Don't get a chance to do me like they did my nigga die. Thug it for life, and if you right, the nigga die for it. Let the motherfuckers try, at least you try for it. When it's time to die, be a man and pick the lead. Fuck these and the police, mom, bitches at the product. My business at the product.